I'm Tim Kittro, and here to bring home the bacon are Big Ryan the Fat Guy.
What's going on, guys? It's the NFL Divisional Picks Against the Spread for the 2020-2021 NFL season. Fat Guy, we are 130, 129, and 3 this season. Good for 50.2% against the spread. But like I always say, who cares? Right on to the divisional round. Let's start off with the early Saturday game, 4:35 p.m. Eastern Time start. The Green Bay Packers are 7-point favorites at home. 59% of bettors are on the Packers. They are playing the Rams. Who you got?
I got to be honest. As the year gets longer, or as the year progresses, rather, these games get a lot more difficult to predict, and this is no different. I'm having a hard time this entire time. I mean, I used time twice there. I'm having a difficult time deciding what side realistically. I don't really like this game to wager on. But there is some interesting factors that we can point out market-wise, is that this is fluctuated between 7 and 7.5, but 7.5 with really bad juice. So it's, I mean, almost a lateral movement, I guess maybe a balancing technique perhaps. And more people per dollar are betting on the Packers. But that doesn't mean, it means perhaps the book is taking a micro exposure on the Rams. 7 doesn't really feel like enough for a team that could be starting John Wolford, assuming he passes concussion protocol, which is unlikely. So it's more than likely Jared Goff, who, if anyone noticed, he looked like he had like one of those mini bats for a thumb, or like the shaft of a hockey stick. It was massive. He's going to get tough guy points, as Eggman pointed out. But I mean, you want your best to be healthy in a playoff game. And as well as Aaron Donald, there is an injury. Again, this is all handicapping stuff, but it is relevant to the number, because I would think that the number would be higher considering an injured Goff and an injured Aaron Donald, which are probably the two most important players on that team. You can say what you want about Goff. He's still a quarterback, and that carries more weight, right? And Aaron Donald being the best defensive player in the National Football League. So, and also, too, the Packers have a propensity to blow out. So it's a fishy one, really. Not to mention, like, maybe they could have moved to 7.5 or 8. I mean, this is going to be a contest pick. I'm going to take the Rams and the points. And I just want to watch this one from a fan perspective, Big Bry. You were a big fan of the defensive performance of the Rams this last weekend against Seattle.
Yeah, I think there's huge kudos to be paid to Sean McVay. And can you think of like two better young coaches in the league than these two teams? Like, this is going to be an excellent coaching matchup. I feel like a five-star coaching matchup between Matt LaFleur and
Sean McVay. Holy, the guy gets one featured highlight all year. It's built up to this, and this is what he comes out with. One take, and that's what we do. You know, you wonder why. You wonder why. Anyways, he better be good on the computer. Let's go to the next one.
The next game is the Baltimore Ravens travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills, who are 2.5-point favorites at home. 52% of early bettors, Fat Guy, are on the Bills. Who you got?
Yeah, but the one issue is there is only 37% of the money. This one's a little bit of a difficult one to figure out, because a lot of the money line money, though, conversely, is on the Bills, and we're starting to marry those two markets together a bit more to get a better picture of what the book is actually doing. I have a feeling they're going to make money regardless of result on this game, as they should on most games, but this one the most in particular. I think this is an early betting market, as all of them. Every market here has less than 2,000 bets, and there should be, I would imagine, about 30,000 on each of them by game time. So this is a very microscopic view into the market, and these ones have been difficult to predict. I'll be honest, I was off on a bunch of them last week. I thought the Steelers line was good, which I was correct on. Didn't get the result there, but hey, my Cleveland Browns won a playoff game. More on that on the next one. But also too, I thought the line was so bizarre on that Rams Seahawks game, and I was wrong on that one too. I thought it would have crept to 10, considering no one had even heard of John Wolford, more or less. But the Rams almost had to do it on special teams and defense, and they were able to do so on special teams and defense. That being said, about balancing books, I am going to be on the Ravens in a contest pick. Like I said, it's getting so hard to to try and beat them, and there's no obvious ones. Because remember, too, a lot of the stuff we bet on the NFL is when a bad team or an underperforming team plays an overperforming team. And then you get the concept of do up, do down. Now, do up, do down doesn't mean, oh, we had a bad performance, therefore that we're going to have a better one going forward. What it means is the market's recency bias on both teams. A team blows out one team, they're likely going to carry more weight than they should. A team gets blown out, they're going to carry less weight than they should. And then what happens is you get that perfect marriage where one side is overvalued, one side is undervalued, and then you get a spread that has meat on the bone, which I like. The unfortunate part of the playoffs is futures aside, is it's just strong teams, right? These are all everyone's winners, right? So recency bias is usually a moot point, and you're going to kind of get that. The Bills, from a handicapping perspective, I thought they were coached poorly in their decision making. Obviously, Josh Allen is incredible, but I didn't really like some of the decision making, especially when they're trying to close the game out. All of that being said, the market is balanced, so I'm going to have to make a gut pick on this one, and it will be purely for the contest, and it will be the Baltimore Ravens, as I was more satisfied with the eye test. But that's why I don't really bet what I feel and what I like, because feelings are for suckers realistically, and I won't be betting, but in the contest I'll be taking the Baltimore Ravens.
I just want to talk about some of the numbers to back up what the fact I was talking about, that these two teams are going to have support from the public on both sides. So we have a feeling this market is going to be split pretty evenly, and 2.5 is probably going to be equilibrium or very close to it for this game. But Baltimore was 11-5-1 against the spread this year. They were the second best team. Tied for third with Green Bay was the Buffalo Bills at 11-6 against the spread. So people have been betting on these two teams, and people have been doing very well betting on these two teams. So Lamar Jackson and the Ravens passed the eye test. Josh Allen and the Bills passed the eye test. So this is one of those games where if I had to make an assumption, the books are going to take equal exposure on both sides and be happy to take the juice, take the 9%. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Make their money
3 to 9%.
9% or more, considering all these parlays and things that people.
Oh yeah. Well, if you add parlays, they're going to make even more than that.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
As well. Oh my goodness, the books are going to be happy with this game. That's my opinion, and there's just not enough value. Fat Guy and I, it's essentially gun to the head. We're making these picks.
Yes.
For most of these games this week, this one especially is a razor thin. That you're going to be hard pressed to find an edge on either side. Fat Guy, next up onto the Sunday games. Our Cleveland Browns, but yeah, we can call them our Cleveland Browns after that big playoff win. Jeez. Take on also a team that we've been a fan of over the years since Andy Reid arrived, for sure.
Yes.
The Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are 10-point favorites at home. 49% of early bettors are on the Chiefs. Who you got?
It was a lot cooler taking the Browns when they were really bad. I mean, I don't know if they're good yet. I don't know if I can crown them that, but that was some performance. That being said, I'm going Chiefs, if you can believe it. I'm going to lay the 10 points here. This is mostly a contest pick. I'm considering it in real life, but it's probably not going to happen, to be realistic. And you'll be like, "Oh, Fat Guy, you're wearing a Browns hat. You love the Browns." I do. But I have to be loyal to the dollar first, and the dollar is more likely to stray on the Chiefs side. So when you talk about do up, do down, the Browns might be carrying a lot of clout that they didn't before. It was just because think about this. The game, think of a bell curve on the game. That finished in a top 1 in 10,000 result probably for the Browns, I would say, Big Rye.
Yeah, it was quite up there. Like the fact that they were able to put up 4 touchdowns on their first 4 touches of the ball. Well, their first 3 touches of the ball, to be honest. Was something. Like, you don't usually see teams get out to 28-0 leads.
Well, I don't think it ever happened in the playoffs.
I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't, because that's just something that doesn't happen very often. Off the top of my head, I can't even remember a team getting up 28-0 this year. Well, I'm sure it did happen probably multiple times, but it's just something that just doesn't happen very often, especially with two teams that are so highly sought after, like, 11, 12 win teams. It's just not very common.
Just rare, right? Like there was that Houston when Houston jumped out to 24-0, I believe, against the Chiefs. Equally as impressive. They didn't hold on to cover or win, oddly enough. The Browns, on the other hand, they might be carrying a little bit extra clout, so I'm starting to look at a little bit of value on the Chiefs. And I understand it's a double-digit dog in a playoff game, that's the part that's holding me back. You know what I mean? It's just hard to lay 10 points. It really, really, really is. the Chiefs are still the Chiefs. They're the best team in the National Football League. But they haven't covered lately, and they weren't that good against the spread either. 9-7, I believe.
7-9 were the Chiefs.
7-9. I got it wrong.
Cleveland Browns were 7-10 as well. So neither of these teams have been very hot against the spread, but I want to say it'd be obvious that the Chiefs would be the public sentiment pick, but because of the success, the recency bias of the success of the
most
Browns,
watched game of the weekend, might I add.
Yeah, it was an interesting one. I've been talking about exposure. Exposure has been kind of like my favorite term over the last little while, and these are things that I add in for the betting market videos that are part of our YouTube membership, $5 a month. Hit that join button down below to join to get some more insight into that. But I'll talk a little bit about this Browns market, which Fat Guy and I were talking about before, because these games have been razor thin, but the books are taking more exposure on the Cleveland Browns against the money line, because the best money line you can get is plus 400, 4-1. That's a 20% chance that the Browns win. You can bump it down a little bit just with juice. So let's say they have probably about an 18% chance to win this game according to the books. However, they're taking 44% of the money on that money line, which is interesting to see because they are willing to take more exposure on the Browns money line. And, a Browns win would net them, probably closer to break even, but possibly a net loss on that game. So it's interesting to see if the books are willing to take that exposure on the Browns money line. There's probably some incentive for us to jump on the Chiefs and join the books on that side.
Also, think about considering this 1 in 10,000 performance. That's what I'm calling it against the Steelers. Fantastic. Loved it as a fan. But think about it when the average Joe watches that. He might go, this is Believeland. This is going to happen. You know what I mean? He might actually, for once, rather than take the points, go, I'm going to take Cleveland to win. You know what I mean? It can happen. If they can do that to the Steelers, they can do it to the Chiefs. When in reality, even the Jets in a long enough timeline would be able to win like that against the Chiefs. Because think about it. It's just a lot of this stuff is just randomness. Don't break it down to this player or that. How many snaps in Marquise Pouncey's life have flown right over the head of Ben Roethlisberger, and how many were on the first snap of the game? It's never happened. These things do happen. So the Jets, in theory, could do this. It's probably not 1 in 10,000. It's probably more like 1 in a million. But again, it could happen. There's a chance of it. However, what we as humans do is we overestimate. We're really bad at estimating probabilities. We really are. And the Browns' chances of winning basically aren't as good as people think they are. They're still a big dog in this game because they're playing the best team in the league, the Kansas City Chiefs. So all of that being said, I don't like laying 10 points. So contest-wise, I have to. I'm going to have to ponder this one in the old betting labs, but I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs for all of those reasons.
There's one other point I want to bring up, and something I've theorized, and I haven't talked about the Fat Guy. I haven't talked about this with the Fat Guy yet, but I feel like the books are it's sleight of hand, and this sleight of hand is pointing towards the Cleveland Browns, which I find interesting. Their wavering ways. That made no sense. So on to the Tampa Bay New Orleans Saints game. Saints are 3-point favorites at home. 41% of early bettors are on the Saints. Fat Guy, who you got?
Well, anyone notice he didn't stumble on the commercial? This being said, I'm going to go with the Saints. This one was a big argument back in the offline studios between the two of us. I kind of like that Bucks 150 money line, but like I said, these are all difficult, and this is going to be a contest pick. Big Rye had a lot of good arguments saying that the Saints are the pick because the book is taking exposure. Because there's so much early money flowing on the Bucks, like a lot of it. And the one thing though is I will agree with him on the chances of whale money on the Bucks is really high, because I think we've seen over the year between seasoned bettors betting on Brady or Belichick, I think we know who they like, and I think it's Tom Brady, to be honest.
Yeah,
and part of that's because of success too.
And I want to give some clout to the Fat Guy here, because he was leaning towards Tampa Bay, and I will say this, that the Saints were as high as 4-point favorites and had been bet down to 3 points. So usually that line movement shows me that the books don't want to take as much risk on the Saints, but even at 3 to this point, they're still taking risk on the Saints. So it's interesting to see Like I even mentioned to him, as far as a market factor, if it gets down to 2.5, I would actually prefer to take the Bucks money line at that point. But right now it's Saints -3 with how the market is. I do like the Saints at 3. But these are all just different market factors, and we are trying to predict what's going to happen essentially a week from now for these games. And the whole point is, if we are this close on sides and arguing and coming up with these many different theories, that there's just not a lot of meat on the bone in this game.
I think because don't forget, like we've mentioned, as the year progresses, it's harder to beat. It's just harder to beat this stuff. And in the pantheon of sports, the hardest and most efficient market is the NFL market. So, like for instance, a Super Bowl bet, it's so rare to actually get one down that actually has value on it. And I feel really strongly about this weekend as far as difficulty. Like, I just don't see any. I don't know what to do. When I don't know what to do, it's probably best when you don't have a move, it's best not to wait. It's best to wait. I'm trying to quote Arnold Rothstein there from Boardwalk Empire, but I'm not able to do that. And I think I'm going to be waiting this weekend. These are going to be purely contest picks. It'll probably negatively affect our record, but I'm completely okay with that because we do decisions over here, not results. And this is one of those difficult spots where I see, like, I'm interested in the Bucks, but Big Rye has some points about the Saints. And what he said probably doesn't make a lot of sense to you, but it does in this way, is he says he would rather take a worse price on the Bucks, but the reason he would do that is this is a philosophical argument we have all the time. He thinks that the indicator is strong enough that it would override getting a bad price on it, whereas I like to try and time things perfectly or not bet at all. I want to get the indicator right before it happens and gamble on that. So basically what we like doing is we like gambling on which side we think the market's going to go, because again, we don't really pick, we bet the number, not the team. Because the chances of these teams winning is just so close. What, 58-42 for the Saints, I think we'd say? 47 or 57-43 in that neighborhood?
Yeah, it's really close. The other thing too that's a little bit different for this game compared to a lot of other games this year is that the Saints have probably during the playoffs with fans there might have a legitimate home field advantage, more so than any other team that it has had this year. So you
Chiefs perhaps too. Chiefs are in there.
Chiefs possibly too, and these two teams would be razor thin with that home field advantage. There might be that slight edge on the Saints, helping push that line up, like maybe a 2.5, 3, and that's exactly what Fat Guy is predicting. Like that 57% is essentially right between those two numbers. So it's like -3 at good juice, or it's -2.5 at bad juice, and that's probably where this line is going to settle. And as far as market factors, like Fat Guy said, it's better to bet the Bucks now if that line goes down, but we don't know whether that's going to happen or not. We can predict as much as we want. It's obviously better to have the Bucks at +3, or like a money line would be close to +150.
150 rather than 138 or what have you.
Yeah, when it comes down. So it's interesting, the different philosophies, and obviously getting the best price is going to be the best thing first. And then market indicators are essentially a way to tell you whether you've made a good prediction or not. Fat Guy, that's it for us. So let's go on to the lightning round. We have Rams-Packers to start.
Reluctant Rams.
Ravens-Bills.
Unsure Ravens.
Browns-Chiefs.
Maybe the Chiefs.
And Bucks-Saints.
Perhaps the Saints.
This week is just unreal. These lines these lines are excellent. There's nothing. Usually Fat Guy and I are looking at this like, oh man, there's some home runs here, and there's
zero. None.
On to the wild card weekend picks against the spread leaderboard. So we had a 4-way tie for first at 5-1. So a strong start for these four competitors, aka Jive Turkey, Stu with Gay for Fat Guy, Mad Capper, and Keldar all going 5-1 against the spread. Also at 4-2, I want to give a shout out to JS715, DJ Sherwin, our boy, and 888 Jimmy, all doing well at 4-2.
Jive Turkey, check your email inbox. I was a little late on the t-shirt email. My apologies.
And then on to the JS715 name of the week, Fat Guy. Let's start off with the honorable mentions.
Well, Bellarmine is a popular team in the NCAA basketball betting realms on the Big Ryan the Fat Guy Discord, which is a part of the membership. Click join, just $5. And Big Rye forgot this. It's Canadian, $5 Canadian. You're crushing on the exchange rate. So Bellarmine, we call him Bumberbean around here, and Bumberbean for Super Bowl 55. I love it. I need to find 11,780 wins from the great state of Georgia this season. Big Rye's new calculator that is provided by Roland Walton. And by the way, Dylan Toddfield, whatever, it was correct. You did not crack 50% of wins during the regular season. And you get up in that ass, Larry. Not sure what that means exactly, but it sounded fun when I said it that way. And then Big Rye put out a special on the form to join the contest where you could just enter your JS715 name of the week, and someone just put none, and rather than leave it blank. And I really enjoy that. That type of stuff just works for me. R.I.P. Adam Gase era. Truer words have never been spoken. A gay for fat guy. A friend of mine, Stuart, a chess wonderkind. I did beat him one time though. It did happen. Nice to see him back on the show. I want to give him a shout out.
And you get up in that ass, Larry, is a quote from Curb Your Enthusiasm, one of the better scenes.
Oh,
in the show.
That's from Leon.
It sure
totally
is.
Forgot.
This is the JS715 name of the week. Whoa, kaboom!
Points are for pussies. Now, normally this wouldn't necessarily be a win, but this is from the Grand Capitan Casson. So when he puts a nice little jab at everyone else, especially us, jagging us with it, you gotta give it. When a man calls his shot, you gotta highlight it, and that's what I'm doing. Casson, nice name.
And remember, you guys can make your picks for the divisional round at BigRyanTheFatGuy.com. Whoever has the most wins at the end of the playoffs can win a t-shirt. Or not can, will win a t-shirt.
They will. It's going to take me a while. You guys know that.
And that's it for the NFL divisional picks. Fat Guy, this is just... Every single one of the bet percentages here are within 40% or 60%. There's not a lot of market factors anyway.
And the money balances, too, a lot of the time.
Well, also we're bringing in the money factors, which is something we consider for our actual bets, and it's something that even us looking at it now, you and I are still disagreeing is not the right point, but reading the information differently and getting different conclusions from it, which is really, really interesting because you and I are usually spot on as far as games.
There might be one game every 2 weeks that we disagree on.
Yeah, and this one was we're
3 out of 4.
Yeah, we're both flipping coins on pretty much all of these.
All of them. We disagreed on all of them. And we flip-flopped the whole morning.
At one point or another, we did disagree on all 4 games.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting week, guys. Hopefully, this video can help you out, and hopefully it helps you decide that there's probably no value and not to bet this week, which is interesting. But that's how it is. Sometimes you're going to have 4 bets against the spread. You're going to have 4 money line bets in 4 games. And this isn't the case. This is
at least for us, anyways.
Yeah.
Now it is kind of a boring parting thing. Is so you guys put out a pick video and you don't actually like any picks. That's the way because we don't like gambling. We make it look like we do. Big Ryan and I have never bought a lottery ticket. We don't do scratch and wins. We like playing for value and we just don't see it. So what would you rather us do? Tell you the truth or lie to you? And we want to be as transparent as possible. And we're not going to lie to you by giving you an inflated win rate or or telling you they win 80% on a teaser, which isn't even break even.
Cut me up, bro.